Okay, good morning to everybody and welcome to this Quantum Computing Pathways for Business Leaders. This morning is about this new program that's been put in place by Technology ICT Skillnet, which looks at the whole area of quantum and looks at it from a business leader's perspective. Obviously, this is a very new and exciting program that's been brought together between Technology ICT Skillnet and ICHEC. And it's a force for business leaders. And this top-down approach of focusing on informing business leaders about technology is a real imperative to make sure that it's positioned correctly and the right type of investment decisions are taking place. These type of programs from Technology ICT Skillnet is nothing new. They have already developed pathways around, well, they have the masters in cybersecurity, there's the masters in blockchain. I'm fortunate enough to be the chair for the Masters in AI. So this track record of delivering programs in advanced digital technologies is nothing new to Technology ICT Skillnet, and they have a very, very strong pedigree in doing that. And now we have these new quantum pathways, which is looking at business leaders and technology managers. And as you go through this, you can actually go over and register those. You can register for those programs. They're ready to go over in the Technology ICT Skillnet. Maybe either Aideen or Jamie can put those links up. Okay, so I'm joined this morning by a very strong panel indeed in terms of understanding the potential for quantum. I have Venkatesh, and Venkatesh is from ICHEC. He's the technical manager over at ICHEC. They're real experts in this area. They provide the national service around quantum computing in Ireland. I have Steve Flinter, who's the head of emerging technologies over in Master Labs, and he supports the product group over there. So steeped in looking at the opportunities for this with respect to business, formerly from Science Foundation Ireland. Maeve Corcoran, who's the managing director of Accenture Labs, again, another incubation house looking at new technologies, looking at how those technologies can become real for business leaders. And Daniel Lete, who's a program manager over in HEAnet. And as a recipient of the IBA Quantum Challenge Achievement, he's also steeped in understanding the potential for quantum computing. I've also got Aideen here. Aideen is from Technology ICT Skillnet. She's going to be moderating the Q&A, just keeping an eye on it. And we encourage people, obviously, to ask questions as they go along. Anything that comes up, drop a question in, and I'll endeavour to capture it and we can go through it. And we have Jamie here as well, Jamie Megan from Technology ICT Skillnet. If you have any questions with respect to the program itself, how you register, where you go, what you need to do. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start off with Venkatesh. And what Venkatesh is going to do is going to take you through the actual pathways themselves, give you, first of all, a little perspective on quantum is about. So Venkatesh, I'll pass it over to you. If people can just darken their cameras while Venkatesh is doing that. As I said, I do encourage people to ask questions as we go along. And following this, we'll start looking at the wider opportunities and talking to Maeve and how this whole program came to being. So Venkatesh, I'll let you take it from here. And if you can just give us a view on maybe a perspective on quantum and then what these quantum pathways are all about.
Thank you very much, Anthony, and good morning, everyone. I hope you can see the screen, but before probably going into the course in itself, just to quickly bring us all on the same page for today's session. We have all been reading much about quantum computing in the general news, but also in scientific as well as in enterprise contexts. So just to position quantum computing, for most of us in enterprises or in research and innovation or in technology or service provision, we leverage different type of computational technologies for data science analytics, for modeling simulation, for building AI-based solutions and so on. And the underlying common factor for all of those technologically driven solutions and services is different types of computational and data management technologies. And they have been in creation for the last 6-7 decades in different forms. It's probably started with the mid-90s in the form of vacuum tubes, but they have grown through different iterations and generations to the classical computational devices that we use either at our desktops or our workstations in our organizations, in cloud services or dedicated high-performance computing supercomputers. Nevertheless, all of these computational technologies are referred to as the classical technologies, in which we operate on zeros and ones, bits and bytes. So this is the classical definition given for the distinction between quantum computing and classical computation. Now, where classical computing has headed now is that it is really computationally capable in terms of speed and accuracy. But what is becoming more and more challenging is the complexity of the systems that we either analyze or model and simulate for decision making, for search and optimization, and so on. So because of the increasing the complexity of the problems that we are solving with these classical computational technologies, we are reaching limitations of time to solution, of the accuracy or the precision of the type of results that we get. And that is where quantum computing is stepping in. It is a computational technology which has been in research for the last good few decades, but over the last 1 to 2 decades, there has been efforts in kind of practically realizing quantum computational devices. And the scientific engineering challenges are what most of the community is solving at the moment. And also a significant part of the community is taking these prototype devices, these smaller scale, what are called NISQ, noisy intermediate scale, limited number of qubit devices in quantum computation, and using them to understand or study the type of problems, the scale and complexity of the problems, the results that they are able to produce, and understand how quantum computing can serve as an accelerator to the currently existing computational technologies that we have, so that we can address the challenges of working with and modeling and simulating or analyzing the increasingly complex problems that we are looking at in terms of our domains and sectors. So quantum computers, they are evolving and are being built to larger scale, to be more reliant as we speak. But at the same time, we are also facing a place where we are able to investigate the type of problems where quantum computing could eventually provide an advantage compared to the classical computation technologies. And the type of areas or sectors in which quantum computation is foreseen to have a significant impact encompass both the fundamental science, but also application areas in biology related, in chemistry, material sciences, pharmaceutical, wherever optimization, simulation of complex systems is involved, so aerospace perhaps, and financial services, where many of the algorithmics are based on physics-based systems and models, or also optimization and search and machine learning technologies. So wherever areas we deal with modeling complex systems, search and optimization, that's where those kind of sectors is where quantum computation is expected to deliver a significant impact. Without further ado, going perhaps to have a quick look at the quantum programming certification course that we are here to learn a bit more about. The quantum programming certification course has been designed and customized for different types of target audiences at enterprise organizations. Particularly, the 2 pathways that we are launching today is for business leaders or executives, and also for the technical leaders and managers. So there are 2 versions that we are looking at going forward. If you are business leaders or technical managers, there are 2 pathways that will position you as industry leaders to better understand where the technology is at currently, what is its potential going forward over time, and how it may impact both the business solutions, but also the market as a whole, so that you can strategize and prioritize how you build capacity, plan your investments, and roadmap your adoption of quantum computing as the technology evolves as well. So the quantum programming certification course is very much customizable going forward. And one, it positions the business leaders to assess the impact the technology has over time, so that it is not just a once-off learning exercise. The technology's evolution necessitates that the decision makers periodically track the development of the technology and assess its maturity and strategize accordingly as it evolves and scales. For the technical managers, for a more closer perspective, to watch the evolution of the technology in more detail, and then decide and plan on how and when the capability, skills, and activities can be built within your organizations. And eventually, then it would permeate to the developers and engineers or scientists, where people can do the practical work to demonstrate the capabilities, test and assess its advantages in the context of business solutions and applications within your organization or relevant to your sector. So pretty much the course as a whole is intended to be highly customizable going forward. And having a quick overview of the course in itself without going into too much of the details, the course is structured in that any participant can define your own personal learning pathway through the modules and technical content with guidance. The content is broadly structured into 5 themes. The first theme will introduce the potentials and capabilities of quantum computing as a technology, but also opens the takers of these modules to what kind of activities are happening at a national, European, and international level, so that you can not just track the technology in its evolution, but also the programs, the financial programs, strategic programs from the government, the European Commission, that would allow and finance your engagement as enterprise partners in developing and adopting the technology and also building your skills. Then we come on to the more technically oriented themes. In theme 2, we present what are the methodologies with which quantum computing technologies are developed and how do they look currently in practice, and gives you the technical insights on how to watch the technologies of evolution over time, and also determine what are the key tipping points that are to be achieved and what key milestones need to be achieved as well for the technology to be more and more practical and scalable in the coming years. And under theme 3, there always needs to be kind of, especially for the developers, the more technical people, a sound foundation in the required mathematics and the computer science. So there are supposed to be a few concepts that need particularly to be focused for the developers and not necessarily for the executive managers and technical managers. So these modules in theme 3 are more for the developers and cover the fundamentals. Theme 4 then presents a broad portfolio of the algorithmic methodologies and use cases that quantum computing can address. This will be a well-structured introduction of the use cases and practically relevant applications and the underlying algorithmic techniques that enable all of them over time. And under theme 5, at the moment, there are a plethora of software development and programming tools that are built by the community and also vendors, but also specialists from different domains. So a structured way of presenting and understanding the software toolkits and the programming environments is required. And this will also be covered as a part of the certification in theme 5. Particularly then looking a bit more into the version or the pathway for the executives, the course is can be customized as required, but at a high level, the executives will primarily be focusing on the demystification of quantum computing so that one can understand how it sits alongside the classical computational technologies, ICT technologies, data analysis technologies, AI-based models and optimization and simulation-based tools that are currently used, and more importantly, discussing what quantum computing can do and cannot do for you, because there are so many different promises that are being made. So at any given point in time, it is important for the executives and business leaders to have clarity and be able to sift as to what the technology can deliver now and what the technology holds and how it will evolve over time for it to become more and more practical in different areas. And then the second module focuses on how quantum computing is going to sit alongside what are the current developments happening both at a strategic and technical level to couple and integrate the quantum computation technologies, quantum computational technologies with your current classical computational tools and paradigms that we have now. Now, looking forward to the technology, the version for the technical managers, we go a bit beyond the first 2 modules that are targeted for the executives. So in addition to the topics to demystify quantum computing and the integration of classical HPC and quantum computing, the managers would focus further on how quantum computing systems are being realized, how they can be accessed at this stage, because there are different mechanisms through which one can gain access to quantum computing systems, through cloud environments, through partnerships with the developers of the technologies, on-prem and so on. So one can also download quantum simulators in software and leverages functionalities on your personal laptops or development workstations. So there are different mechanisms in which you can gain access, and all of these are going to be necessary key ingredients for the managers to have a roadmap and a watch list of what technologies are currently available, what key metrics and targets need to be achieved over time, so that you can track its evolution. And naturally, a landscape of software development tools and libraries, and also the landscape of the algorithmic techniques would also be key ingredients for managers to do the technology assessment, watch, and plan building your capacity and your organization skills over time. So with regards to the duration of each of these topics, it is to be delivered through a series of sessions worth half a day's time. And each session is broken down into a 60-minute recorded lecture, a 60-minute live interactive tutorial, and a 90-minute supported exercise session. So the technical managers version and the ones for the business leaders executors is what we are looking at launching going forward. But in future, what we're also developing in parallel is the developers version for this course. It's a lot more in detail. It builds on what the technical managers learn. As you see, the bits in orange and green are going to be added. Depth for the developers focusing on the methodologies. The orange topics are the fundamentals of quantum computing and the required mathematics that equip you to learn the algorithms in more detail and demonstrate with use cases. And the topics in green at the bottom are the detailed introduction to the algorithmic techniques and different use cases and applications. It is through these quantum computing concepts and algorithmics that one can select to learn different software and programming toolkits that are one, either better suited for certain use cases, or two, that are going to be of particular interest to your own organization. So it depends particularly on each enterprise or the attendee, whether you want to learn a broad range of software development toolkits and algorithmic techniques, or you want to more focus on specific use cases that are of particular relevance or interest to your organization. So as I mentioned, this is pretty much customizable, and over time the module will be developed so that the course is a lot more richer for the developers. Optionally, what we also target is throughout the period of the developers version of the course, a particular participant may be interested in doing practical mini projects, and the scope of which can be customized and discussed with staff at ICHEC and defined. And this project would then be done throughout the entire duration of the course by building on it. Now, depending on which pathway one might take through the modules, as developer, the course duration might be anywhere between 24 to 30 sessions for the developers version, each of which is roughly, as I mentioned, half a day's worth. So that pretty much is an overview of the course in itself. With that, I hand it back to Anthony.
Okay, that's, I mean, gives us a very clear view of what this is all about. Venkatesh, I'm going to actually ask you to stay there for the panel discussion at the end, if you just remain, because I think that it'd be useful to have you as part of that, given that we may reflect on what you've just spoken about. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn to Maeve. And as I said, Maeve is the managing director over Accenture Labs, and she's involved with this because she's part of our industry advisory board. So this thing is very much designed by industry for industry, and she's been involved in that process. And I wanted to get her view on, you know, why it's been important, the way we've done it, what we've done, and why is this an important initiative for business leaders at this stage in the roadmap of where quantum is. Maeve, maybe you just give a perspective on, you need a bit of your own background, and then, you know, the pathway that we've gone on and why this is important.
Yeah, sure. Hi, thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I guess my background, as you mentioned, I am managing director of Accenture Labs here in Dublin. So it's one of 7 R&D labs globally that Accenture has. And we focus on artificial intelligence and also quantum. And actually, we've been working together with Venkatesh and ICHEC for the last 2 years, specifically in the quantum chemistry space. But the reason that Accenture has these R&D labs is actually to have a look at what's coming, and maybe things that maybe aren't relevant and will make a lot of money or save a lot of money in the next 3 to 6 months, but things that will make a big impact in the next 3 to 5 years, so that we can be ahead of the curve and help clients get ahead of the curve too. So that's a key reason why we actually started looking at quantum from an R&D point of view in Accenture 6 years ago. So we've been looking, and we have, I think, 50 patents at this stage. So we've actually got in a good while ago. But in terms of this program, Anthony, like you said, we did a survey last year at some point with top level executives. And the view from them was that a lot of potential quantum deployments were being delayed or not happening because of lack of resources. I mean, when we're seeing across the board, there's a desperate need for programmers who know about, like quantum programmers, to actually get these projects off the ground. And this, what we're talking about here, this program actually acts as a conversion course, if you like, for existing people, say with a science or maths background or computer science background, to basically get up to speed quickly, because the gap in the market is now, and it's growing. We can't wait for universities to come up with undergrad courses in quantum development and then 4 years for the students to come out of it. We need people now. And so that's why this course is really important, or this program. It actually made it into Accenture's Tech Vision this year. It's our annual flagship thought leadership in Accenture. And one of the themes was computing the impossible. And it was talking about the talent shortage, and actually it flagged this program as one of the few that exists today globally to actually get people up to speed in this area. But when we were designing the program, it was recognized that while we need the developers to do the doing, we first need to help executives that make the funding decisions about getting into quantum and skilling up developers and having a team, and to help them understand what the business opportunities are and why there's a need to invest now, and also to train up the managers who will manage these developers to get to value. So that's why the 3 streams that Venkatesh just talked about there, we felt were really important. I don't know, Anthony, do you want me to get into?
No, that's fine. I think, Maeve, I think that this targeting of business is a critical piece of it, isn't it? The idea of starting from the top down, so people are very clear about the value proposition. I think one of the challenges with technologies like artificial intelligence has been that business leaders continue to struggle what that value proposition is, and therefore planting that seed early on, as early as possible, provides that confidence at that level that this is a technology that has legs, and therefore we need to be considering, maybe it's 3-5 years time, but we need to start thinking now, correct?
Exactly. And also I think, well, it is like AI quite a lot. AI is ubiquitous, you know, it applies across every industry, whereas quantum, you know, it will have applications globally, but there's specific industries where, you know, it's going to be like a light switch. It's not going to be an incremental change when quantum computers are good enough. It's going to be transformative. So if you're in one of those industries, it's really urgent that, in my view, that you start getting up to speed, because being a fast follower will be a very uncomfortable place to be in if you're in this industry.
Okay, and we will get to that when we get to the broader discussion after this, but thank you for setting the scene. I mean, you've done it extremely well. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk with Stephen Flinter. Now, Stephen and Daniel, who'll follow him, have gone through some of the pathways over the summer months, and they're going to give you a perspective on that so that people will know exactly what this is about, how it's structured, and the types of commitments that they need to give to it, and so on. So, Stephen, maybe if you can just give us your view on the pieces that you reviewed and your own thoughts about this program and the value that it delivers.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Anthony. So, hi everyone. I'm Steve Flinter. As Anthony said, I work with Mastercard. I'm in the R&D group in Mastercard. And just by way of context, we started our quantum journey probably about 3 years ago. I have part of my team dedicated to focusing on quantum computing and quantum computing applications, and so it's an area that is certainly part of our R&D strategy and a big part of the effort that my team does in terms of looking at new technologies and finding new use cases. I'd very much echo some of the comments that Maeve made around the importance of getting business leaders involved in this. You know, it's been my experience in talking, you know, to colleagues around the organization at all levels, that understanding of quantum technology is not great. Some people think it's still science fiction and it's kind of decades away. Others think it's a magic bullet and is going to solve all problems in all industries, very shortly. And the truth is somewhere in between. And so I think a big part of the reasoning behind a program like this, particularly the manager and executive track, is to help technology leaders at all levels to think through, firstly, understand what is the technology, what is the time frame it's going to deliver value from a commercial point of view, and what are the types of applications it's going to be suited for. And in my experience, that's something that businesses have tended to struggle with. Quantum computing is not going to solve every problem. It's not going to provide value or advantage in every problem. And so part of the role that we have as technology leaders is to help our colleagues and help our organizations to think through, how does this technology play a role? How should it fit into a corporate view of our technology strategy and roadmap? And what are the right set of applications to try and target quantum technologies at and quantum computing at? So I think the team in Skillnet and ICT Skillnet have done a great job in, I think, trying to hone in on that level of understanding. So the modules that I reviewed certainly were kind of focused on helping execs and helping technical managers to understand the technology at a high level, and to help them to get to the point where they know enough so that they can have those intelligent conversations, so that they can speak to their teams in the product side of the organization to find those use cases, to find those applications, and then to start to kind of intelligently plan against it. So for me, that's kind of one of the strengths of this program and the approach. And I think the other piece I would call out is the idea, just in terms of the structural way that the team have put it together. There's obviously kind of pre-recorded videos that are developed in the structural way that Venkatesh talked about, but also the opportunity to meet with experts in the organization. So one of the things I've found as we've gone through this journey, watching random videos on YouTube and trying to kind of self-educate is a tough road. It can be done, but it's difficult and it's time consuming. But having somebody who has expertise in this area, who can help to fill in the gaps, answer the questions, and help people going through the course to really be able to absorb and kind of internalize the material, I think is going to be super helpful. So for all of those reasons, I think this is a fantastic initiative. I certainly hope some of my colleagues in Mastercard will attend. And so, I'm very supportive of it. I think the team have put a lot of effort into the quality of the material, the presentations, but also the structure, and ensuring that there's that kind of a logical flow in all of the material. So I think hats off to Venkatesh, to Anthony, and all their colleagues. So, very supportive of the initiative, and I hope it's a great success.
And Steve, one of the big challenges for business leaders, time poor, they don't have the cognitive capacity, all these things are pressure. There's pressures on their time. In terms of what Venkatesh was saying with respect to time dedicated to this, is that realistic? Did you feel that was a realistic timeline? And are there particular things do you need to come into this with some level of knowledge, or can you come in saying, right, I'm new to this, tell me all about it? Has it been structured that way so that you can be comfortably go through this and be new to the whole area?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously one of the challenges with this is that everybody has a different kind of background and education. The sense I got from the material I reviewed and the structure the team have taken is, if you're coming from a strong technical background in classical technologies, in the technologies that we're all using today, translating that into the quantum world is something that this course will help to do. So I think the team have done a pretty good job, I think, of helping to take people who are very familiar with existing technology and help them get up to speed with how quantum is different and how we need to think about it differently. So I do think a great effort's been made to help people make that transition into the quantum world, particularly those of us, and this is probably most of us, who don't have a background in quantum mechanics or quantum physics. And so we need to understand a little bit, but we maybe don't need to be experts in it. And I think the team have done a pretty good job at treading that fine line between going too deep on the quantum side, but also going far enough that people can understand why it's different and why it's important and relevant.
Okay, Steve. Well, thank you for that. Now, Steve's going to stay with us because he's going to go back. We're going to have a bit of a panel discussion later on, along with Venkatesh, and Maeve will be there. But thank you for the moment, Steve, and I will come back to you. Daniel's from HEAnet, and Daniel has been looking at the pathways with respect to technology manager, looking at some of those. And again, Daniel, we wanted to get your perspective. You're looking at this probably more from the technical aspects of it. And I wanted to get your perspective on what you think of it. When you were going through the pathways, did you have the same experience as Steve in terms of what you went through, what you reviewed, the time commitment, and so on?
What I'm going to say is quite similar to my previous colleagues, but I'll try to give my view here from the point of view as in the audience, potential people who might join the course. So I'll talk to you as if I had gone through the course, and I'll tell you what I thought. Yeah, the place where I come, HEAnet, is publicly funded. What we do is communications, data communications. Yeah, we do for the public sector. On a given day in Ireland, there's 4 million, give or take. We serve in business hours 1 million of them. All the primary, secondary, universities. We do communications. We do infrastructure. We don't have product ourselves. And we do two things. We take all these people to the general internet, and then we connect them to the educational community in Europe and worldwide. Yeah, and within the educational community, there's two angles here: the undergraduate students, if you want, and the professional researchers. So our interest as a company is to serve both, if you want. For us, we don't need the product, HEAnet, but our commitment is to serve our clients. Our clients is the research community, if you want. Okay? Yes. I'm just framing this. In my company, my role is project manager. In my company, that means that is broad scope. That's the way I will translate it. And that's me. The part I did review, in fact, Anthony, was on the business leader part at the beginning. On the my background, going back to Steve, I did quantum physics. In fact, I did theoretical physics for 6 years, and then I do mathematics because I like it. So I guess I have, anyway, I understand a little, but if anybody does, yeah.
More than us, probably.
No, but now that's me, and I'm going to stop and I won't say anymore. Yeah. Now, when it comes to the course, the one I wrote, I'll summarize it. Yeah, it settles the content. Me as an audience, when I went and I said, okay, let's see. Yeah, and I found that me going through the process in the modules that I review, as far as I know, I remember all of it. It was given to me in a very efficient manner. Yeah, I was given assignment to do on my own, first thing. So I had to make the effort. Extremely important after I found that I could talk to Venkatesh and his colleagues and the experts. So the trouble I had gone myself understanding the potential concepts, they brought it down to me. Talk to them was extremely efficient. I found that of high value. Yeah. As Steve was saying, you try to do your own, you read your videos, you buy the books, you read on your own, but you can't make the questions. Yeah? And then the other one, there was exercises that I think you can do on your own or in a group. I think it would be extremely efficient. The other one I thought at the beginning, yeah, okay, I was very lucky they allowed me to review. I thought I'm very grateful, yeah, but I'm not sure what value I can bring here. So I guess what I'm trying to address here is not exclusive, it's quite inclusive. Quantum can be the way, whichever way is a spin might be magical, and you might feel excluded. Reality is that it's not, it's a technology like any other one. So you need all the aspects of any other technology: funding, management, product cycle, technical, of course, support, all of it. And I think that the course addresses that. Yeah. So I think anybody who works in IT nowadays, or anybody who works in general, the course is suitable for that person. There's no, I mean, the more you know, of course, the better. But if you know that much, you probably won't know the course. And you might be an expert in coding, for example. But funding cycle, in my opinion, at this point is quite important, it's quite relevant. Even if you're a funding agency, it might be public or private, you need to know where you're funded, where you're funding. So
I think you've touched on a good point there, though. You know, people hear quantum and they're fearful of the technology itself, and it requires a level of knowledge that may be beyond some people. So what you're saying is just treat it as any other technology. You've got to get to grips with it. There's aspects of it that you'll understand, and you've got to get that level of knowledge where you can make decisions about what this technology can do and how it can be applied. But fear is a factor, and to get over that factor, knowledge is where knowledge lessens that fear. Yes,
but the course was very welcoming in that aspect. Straight away, you don't feel as if you're trying to catch up or you are interloper. Or no, it is addressed to anybody if you want. There's certain
so they've got the foundation right. They've got
I found that quite I don't know how to say, successful in the course, if I may. It's
rewarding, a rewarding experience.
Yeah.
And just in terms of the time commitment as well, Daniel, and you know, people going through this will be saying, you know, the time is precious and all the challenges that they have with other work commitments. It's designed in a way that makes it you attain the knowledge and you keep it. You've just said, you know, you remember most of it. So therefore, it's obviously structured in a way that allows you to learn this thing quite easily, and you keep that knowledge because of the way it's presented.
I thought so, but I allocated two days in my case for this, for one module. I think that's more or less the time that is scheduled, envisaged. And to me, for the business leader, I think it is appropriate. Yeah. I think I'm not a business leader, but I think it's difficult to carve time for a person in that profile. Yeah. So I think it's not too generous. What I'm trying to say, I think it is well dimensioned that time. As it's a personal opinion. Okay. I think when it comes to the technical managers, we're talking maybe longer time. I think it's a different angle. For the business leader, I found the timing was spot on. You follow the approach of you do the work on your own, and then you consult with the person, and then if you have the luck and the ability to follow with the exercises or a group discussion, I think it's a well-rounded course. Very didactical. That's the way
you've made it clear, and I mean you've set the stage. You know that this is a course that is, and as has Steve, in terms of this is a consumable course. It's enjoyable, and I think what you've both stressed is that ability to access expert people that you can ask questions of. A lot of people are now used to online learning. But that element of being able to engage with someone and talk to someone about what this is all about, that's an important aspect. And it obviously allows you to engage and exchange information and get ideas around how the technology works and could play out in an industrial setting. You're going to say something, Daniel.
So just the last thing, it's something along the lines that what Steve said. Yeah, let's say you want to learn quantum today. So you have a choice, whoever you are. You can go to the general internet, you find a bibliography. So why you do this? Yeah, why this course and not any other one? And the one I found here, I mean, I'm just gonna, as a person who did it, I found it very up to date. He talked to me very realistic, and he talked to me as a person in a sort of questions and answers. Yeah. At what stage is the technology today? What stage is expected to be in 2 years? At what stage is expected to be in 5 years? It's answering where the place where I am.
You've brought us nicely onto the next part of the discussion, and I'm going to ask Venkatesh, Maeve, and Stephen to come in on this, and we've actually had some questions, so I want to pose them to the panel, but and one of them is use cases. And Stephen, you've picked on it. You said, you know, quantum is not for everything. There's going to be particular sectors, particular use cases. Venkatesh talked about some of those use cases as well, as has Maeve. You know, where are you seeing it, given the area that you're operating in, Steve? Where do you see the opportunities here within financial services?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the broad areas at a very high level are going to be around anything to do with optimization. So any processes or problems that have an optimization flavor to it will be one area where we'll see particular applications, and I'll give it some specific examples in a moment. The other broad area which we think we're going to see good application of quantum technology is going to be around machine learning. So anything related to machine learning, and then potentially further out things like simulation and so on. But they're probably the kind of the key areas at a very high level. What we have found is, those are typically problems within broader problems. So for example, in optimization, we have looked at areas like loyalty and reward programs, which is a part of Mastercard's business. There's an optimization element to that to figure out what is the optimal way to manage loyalty and reward programs. When you get into logistical type systems, so think of e-commerce, for example, optimization will come in terms of optimizing supply chains and distribution and so on. So optimization is one of those areas that kind of is embedded in a lot of bigger problems. Then on the machine learning side, we're looking at things like, where are the applications for quantum going to be in things like fraud detection, in anti-money laundering and anti-financial crimes. So we think, applications in that area that are driven by the application of quantum to ML and to AI are definitely going to be other kind of areas of kind of fruitful exploration for us.
And just a question that's come in, and something that popped into my mind when I was reading about this during the week is, what's the impact for blockchain here? Does quantum now negate blockchain because you're going to have this, these highly powerful computing, and therefore it has the potential to block or to break security? Does it threaten those type of technologies?
It certainly is part of any organization relying these technologies is going to have to take into account the threat side. I know most of the conversation up to now has been, what are the opportunities and the applications? There is a flip side where we know that sufficiently powerful quantum devices are going to threaten our cryptographic systems and security more broadly. And so that definitely has to be part of an organization's planning. Blockchain is going to be part of that. Blockchain relies on PKI. And so at some point, blockchain and the operators and the developers of various blockchains are going to have to think about what does a post-quantum future look like in blockchain. But that's only one aspect. And I think it's going to affect, from a threat perspective, going to affect all forms of communication that rely on PKI and have public key cryptography at the heart, which is the vast majority of the types of communications that we do now. So for sure, again, I think a course like this might be very helpful in educating people as to the threat landscape as much as the opportunity landscape. And
Maeve, obviously you're in another incubation lab. You're seeing lots of opportunities for different technologies, including quantum. Where do you see? Do you see a different view from what Steve is seeing, or is it pretty much the same? Given what people are saying about the wider applications, physics and chemistry, and they seem to be on the hard sciences rather than standard industry applications, if I can put it like that.
Yeah, and I totally agree with Steve in terms of the areas where it's applicable and where it will be industry changing. Optimization, machine learning, and simulation. I guess my focus personally is more on the simulation side and sort of quantum chemistry, if you like. And while maybe having quantum computers that can simulate the largest molecules today is a bit further out, there we're seeing applications in the simulation space that can get to value now. And last week, I think the Novo Foundation, which is funded by Novo Nordisk, the pharma company, announced that they're spending 200 million over the next 12 years to build a quantum computer specifically focused on transforming life sciences and sustainability. I think that's another area, actually, sustainability, quantum techniques and optimization, but quite a lot around molecule simulation has the potential to actually help with a lot of the sustainability problems we're having today in terms of, breaking down CO2 in the environment, finding, an enzyme that can do that, or creating one, nitrogen fixation for fertilizers, that I think at the moment, it like 2% of global CO2 is produced by creating fertilizers. If we can find a way through quantum chemistry to do that more naturally and not have to use the energy that's used today.
Maeve,
again,
but in terms of business,
business,
I mean, obviously business people are going to be looking at this and saying, why should we, what's in it for us in terms of the opportunities there? Is it 3 or 5 years away? Is that we need to be positioning now, building skills for 3 to 5 years? And the sectors are what? What are those key sectors that you're seeing at the moment? It's pharma, it's finance. Is it energy? Is it broader than that? What are those areas?
Energy as well, chemicals. I mean, and then actually, when you say pharma, there's like companies that do beauty, and there's a lot of chemicals, chemistry simulations there. So actually, when you get into the fundamentals, it'll impact quite a lot of industries. But I think the key ones we're seeing now are pharma, financial services, and energy/resources. There's a lot. And then, as mentioned earlier, the quantum cryptography and actually being, post-quantum ready is something that a lot of clients across the board are asking us about, because there's a risk now, if you're using an email encryption that isn't post-quantum ready, bad actors out there can be intercepting and saving them now to decode, in 5 years' time when the computer is there to be able to decode them. So if there's information in those emails that needs to be private in 5 years' time, you need to be thinking about that now. So they're the key areas.
Sorry, Venkatesh, one thing that came out in the discussion, I think, and Daniel talked about it, was researchers. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are looking at quantum. And there'll probably be a lot of people who are funding research and need to understand this technology. I mean, in terms of your own community, what are they doing in terms of preparing their own people to become aware of quantum? And is this a fit for them as well? Should they be looking at these programs and saying, yes, absolutely, we need to educate ourselves, because in terms of funding of research and funding of projects, this is a technology we need to be aware of, and we need to be using.
I'll start with a very quick example. In a number of collaborative projects that we work on, for example, from the energy sector, they're one of the largest energy sector operators and service providers globally speaking. In their quantum computation and high performance computation analytics team, the kind of researchers and product developers that they are recruiting are from the scientific community, straight out of their postgraduate or research degrees, and they have a qualification in chemistry, in chemical systems, in quantum mechanics, etc. And the reason for that is quantum computing currently requires a bit of a learning curve for not just the developers and the researchers, but also the kind of technical personnel in catching up with the underlying mathematics and physics to be able to address problems and solve and model problems and systems. So we definitely are looking from the perspective of this course at both ends of the spectrum and anywhere in between. There are people that work in the ICT domain on the classical technologies who need to kind of bridge their gap to understanding the underlying mathematics and physics required to then start looking at quantum computing as a platform, as a technology, as an algorithmic method. And the other side, people that are they have the capabilities in the mathematical physics and systems knowledge, but they have to augment with the computational and programming expertise. So that spectrum and everyone in between that is what this course is going to address. So we will have the ability for people with the fundamental skills to catch up on the programming and the algorithmic and the implementation and the tooling and the technology, and then the other way around, the classical data scientists that we have to be able to come on board and pick up those skills and understand better how to rephrase problems and identify what specific parts of the problems are going to benefit from quantum computation. Now, related to that, I just wanted to touch on a previous point as well. It's fair enough to say that many of the poster children that we see in the news as to where quantum computing is currently being demonstrated are more closer to, well, they are physics-based systems, they are molecular systems, etc. And what's that bridge to enterprise applications and solutions and services? At the end of the day, irrespective of whether we're talking about the engineering and manufacturing sector, in aerospace, in automobiles, whether we're talking about life sciences, material science, chemical systems, pharmaceutics, energy systems, financial services, ICT, all of the fundamental solutions to the optimization problems, modeling, simulation problems are based on mathematical models. So every piece of code implements an algorithm that is tied to some kind of physics or chemistry or mathematical model. And that is where the classical computation technologies, GPUs, etc., that is so pervasive today are optimizing the computation, increasing the accuracy, etc. And that's where quantum computing will play a role as well. So what I meant to say is, even though the use cases are probably tied in the newspapers to the more underlying physics and scientific algorithms, they are the ones that are actually solving enterprise problems already. So whatever benefit that quantum computing brings to these algorithmic methods and these solutions will naturally translate to the sectors that Maeve and Steve pointed out there.
And accelerate them. Look, just before, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come back to each of you. And I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to think about this in terms of a one sentence, as you know, what's the business imperative? Why do absolutely business leaders need to do this? Before I do that, though, I just want to bring in Jamie. And just, Jamie, if you can just tell people where they can go in terms of to register for this, so that they can get on board with these pathways as soon as possible. If you just want to do that. And just for yourselves, as I said, I'm going to come back just very quickly around the table. One sentence in terms of absolute imperative as to why business leaders need to do this. Jamie, over to you.
Yeah, so registrations are now open. We're actually taking bookings for business leaders and technical managers through the booking link on our website. I actually popped in the chat there. What we are asking people obviously is to go to www.ictskillnet.ie, but we are asking technical managers to book on the business leaders program, as the first two sessions are the same. And I just want to highlight, I don't think anybody actually mentioned that each session is going to last over a 2-week period. So just the fees, we have a grant aided fee of $749 for the business leaders and $1,499 for the technical managers. Now, candidates are eligible for part-funded fees, providing they're working in a private or commercial semi-state organisation registered in the Republic of Ireland. Now, candidates can still register for the course if they're not eligible for the part-funded fees, but they'll do so directly by registering with ICHEC.
Okay, so you go over to the Technology ICT Skillnet, they're ready there to go. You can register, and if you want to do the technical manager, you register on the business leaders one, because the first two modules are part of that.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, look, I'm going to just go around the table. Daniel, as I said, just in a sentence, what's the imperative here for business leaders? Why should they be seriously taking on board what needs to be done and going on these pathways?
I'm choosing my words, and I'm choosing to say it like this. Yeah, I think it's because it's your obligation as a business leader to do it. That's my view of it. Same way you go to a data protection course for 1 day or 2, you have to go to this one, because it's something that is going to happen. That this is the other flip of the sentence. Yeah, I think it is coming. Or I think it's a fact that it's coming. Which way it will impact you, each person, I don't think is known. As different use cases, they are there, but to the individual, to your company, unknown, but it will impact. So I think one is general knowledge, but if you're in a business leader position, you have, I think, a responsibility to be aware of your environment.
Be disrupted or be the disruptor is what you're saying. Stephen, what would you?
Yeah, I mean, as Daniel said, the tech is happening, it's coming, and we need to prepare for it. I think organizations that are leaders in this area will see operational efficiency improved, they'll see product effectiveness improved, and they'll see security improved. And organizations that are laggards will lag behind their competitors and the market in all of those areas. So it's a commercial imperative every bit as much as it is a technological one.
Maeve?
probably a similar point to the other two, but like I think there's many similarities to AI where it was, 5 to 7 years ago. As the tech matures, more and more people can see the potential. The key difference is that we think that the potential speed to value in certain areas, once we reach the tipping point of machines powerful enough, will make AI look like it progresses at a snail's pace, which is why companies are getting in now and experimenting as fast followers may be too slow to catch up this time.
And we'll give you the last word, Venkatesh. You've put a lot of time and effort. You've worked with the IAB in terms of putting this together. You've heard all the different views from them over the years. What would you say in terms of, why business leaders should absolutely be saying this is for us right now, right at this time?
This is a really fast-moving landscape, and we see that firsthand by just working with different parts of the stakeholders in developing the technology as a whole. And our primary focus is bringing clarity on that evolution of the current technology to the business leaders firsthand. So we see this more as a service as a national organization to inform and allow the business leaders to have the tools, be able to track more closer how the technology evolves and be able to make decisions on when to get on board and how to get on board.
Okay. All right. Look, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you to Daniel over at HEAnet, Steve at Mastercard, Maeve at Accenture Labs, and to Venkatesh and the team at ICHEC for putting these pathways together. Well done to Technology ICT Skillnet, once again being at the forefront in developing these pathways and in continuing the track record of developing pathways and master's courses and other training for people who want to get on board with advanced digital technologies. And you can be assured that the quality, given that they've been part of this, will be second to none. I thank everyone for taking part this morning. Thank you to our audience. Thank you for asking questions. Good morning. Have a good day. And I wish everyone lifelong learning. Okay. Good morning to you all and thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Anthony. Thanks, everybody.